guys, welcome to my channel. Today we will be discussing stress. And let's be clear, we are in extremely stressful times. It's not even second quarter 2025 and we're looming into a recession. A lot of people have been fired from their government jobs. Diversity, equity, inclusion is somehow a crime. Segregation is back. World War III. So many things are happening. So many things are happening. And, you know, how do you cope? How do you cope in these times? And recently, throughout the last couple of weeks, I've had personal things that I've been affected by, some good stress and some bad stress. And that has made me readjust life as a result because I had no choice. Last year, I actually was under a lot of stress and I had a panic attack. And I told myself, I cannot get stressed out like that again. I can't let myself get stressed out to the point of no return where I'm like crying and having a panic attack because I have too much on my plate and I don't know how I'm going to accomplish it all. So this year, when I felt the stress piling on, I made sure to prioritize and strategize how I can stay afloat and not like lose myself to stress or, stress my body out physically. Because stress, although it's something that's felt mentally, it affects your body. And it's really important to, try to manage stress because stress is not all bad, but it's not all good. So let's get started. The bills are still due. It's not like all of these unprecedented things are happening and, we get to stop and take a pause. We still have to continue keeping on and work and pay our bills so we can survive. And that's pretty ghetto. When I'm telling myself I need to slow down, that includes slowing down from work and work obligations. And I know that is probably coming from a point of privilege, but if you have leave, if you have time off that you could take, if your job offers mental health days, utilize them and utilize them all to the extent that you can. Even categorizing this as like a sick day. It's really important to slow down at the job too, because your job causes you a lot of stress. And I know that everyone knows that, but just thinking about like how you wake up and you're feeling good and you're like, all right, let me like do these tasks at work and stuff. And so you're completing the task. And then after lunch, you're like not feeling as energized. And then like by the time 4 o'clock rolls around, you had planned to do all these things after work because you were feeling so good. You're like, yeah, I'm going to go for a walk. Yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to make dinner. I'm going to do all these things. But then by the time the workday ends, you feel drained. And that's because the workday took all of your good energy. Like it literally sucked your good energy, sucked the life out of you essentially. And now you don't feel like doing the things that you would have done. And that's because you were at work and you were putting all of your energy there. So it's best to when thinking about like relaxing and taking a break and slowing down, slow down from your job during these times too, when you feel overwhelmed and stressed. Excuse me, especially too, like with the times that we are in, sometimes it's best to take a step back from work completely. And I know that my old coworkers probably hated me for it, but I was taking a lot of time off for my mental health. And I do have a lot of leave and credit hours and things like that. So I was using them because I cannot let these things stress me out, especially things that I cannot control. And unfortunately, I can't control the new administration. I can't tell them to stop doing the crazy things that they are doing. So it was best for me in that situation to take a step back and hoping that if you do have that ability to take off from work and to take a break from work, while still getting paid, obviously with annual leave or something like that, or if you have the money to not, work without pay, do that too. But prioritize your mental health, because one thing that I've learned in my 28 years of living is that work is the primary stressor. Work literally is that, because we have to work in order to pay our bills. And it's just a sad reality, something that we cannot quite control right now. Obviously, with entrepreneurship, that's different because I hope in entrepreneurship, you're doing something that you're passionate about. And so that passion fuels you to where it doesn't feel like work. That's what they say, don't feel like work. Or even the work that you do, you're doing it for yourself. There's no manager telling you what to do. There's no micromanaging boss. You're the boss. So I do feel like that is a little bit different, but for most people, for most people, that is just not the reality. The reality is that we're giving a lot of our energy and attention and time to a job that doesn't care about us, but we have to be at because it pays our bills. And that is a big stressor. So if you could take off from work, that would definitely help slow you down. Like, you probably, if you took off either a half a day or a full day at work, it'll probably take you just a couple of hours to come back to yourself and realize what you need to do in order to alleviate your stress. So guys, I already do a lot, okay? But on top of the a lot that I had to do, there was even more things. So let me just run down really quick what I do. I take 2 college classes. I'm in a book club that meets once a week. I have to skate at least 3 times a week or I'm gonna go insane. I'm required to travel for my day job. I told myself I would be posting on YouTube at least once a week. And I told myself I'll be going to the gym at least twice a week. And on top of all of that, I am transitioning into a new job. And on top of all of that, I was getting ready for the biggest skate party of my life thus far, which is a whole weekend filled with skating and day parties and skating. This is what actually prompted this video. I felt so overwhelmed so quickly. You know, my personal life is already, you know, kind of reaching the max here, especially with the college classes and traveling for work and, you know, all these things that I like to do. And I like to do these things. You know, people always ask me why I'm doing so much. I like to do everything that I'm doing, except for the work part. But I was doing all of these things and I just realized that, you know, on top of everything I am doing, there's some temporary stressors, like the fact that I'm looking for new employment, you know, and I have to prep for interviews. That's new stress that's coming into my life. And now I have to try to balance the existing stress with the new stress and figure out what is the best route for me to take. First, realizing the consequences of not managing stress properly. Obviously, you know, burnout, fatigue, anxiety, low sex drive, irritability, weight gain or weight loss. And, you know, stress is also something that's talked about in the holistic community a lot because they'll say, you know, stress is linked to diseases within your body. Like, if you let stress get to you and if you have something called chronic stress, then it could lead to diseases and health issues, which I do believe is true. So yeah, after my experience last year, I think the reason I was stressed out is because I had just picked up a client for social media. And on top of that, I was working and I had to travel for work. And it just felt like I couldn't accomplish it all. Like, I started losing sleep and not going to sleep on time, which also enhances stress because your body needs to sleep in order to like reset, you know, those stress levels that you're feeling. And so I was in a sleep deficit and I remember just sitting at my desk and it was past midnight, I think. And I was trying to hurry up and finish something, but I also had to wake up early for work in the morning so that I could travel for work. And I was trying to finish something for my client. And I just remember feeling like my heart racing because I didn't feel confident that I could actually complete these tasks at hand. Like, it felt like 2 things, like 2 people are paying me essentially. My employer is paying me and this new client is paying me and they need these services, and it doesn't feel like I can, it doesn't, it didn't feel like I could, you know, meet their expectations. You know, it felt like competing priorities, you know, so that was tough. And I just remember myself like starting to cry because I was feeling so overwhelmed with the competing priorities. But yeah, overall, stress is just not good for you. And after that experience, that was the 3rd panic attack that I ever had in my life. So after that experience, I decided that it would be best for me to get ahead of the stress and be proactive about the stress. And that requires me managing myself, like me looking at myself from a bird's eye perspective instead of just going through the motions of life. And I think when you start implementing like meditation and mindfulness practices in general, you'll start to be that manager of your own self. So you can start governing yourself instead of just moving through life. Because let's be honest, I wanted that client. That client brought me extra income, and that client helped me expand my own portfolio. So it's not like I didn't want that. And obviously I want my job as much as I complain about it. I do want my job because it's paying my bills. So my main bills, you know. So yeah, It's not like I didn't want these things, and if I was just going through the motions, which I was, I didn't realize that these things were going to add stress, and I needed to delete some things in other places. So how do you manage the stress? The first thing that I'll say that you have to do, and it sounds counterproductive, but my therapist helped me realize that the first thing you actually have to do is slow down. Even though you have all these things on your to-do list and you feel so stressed because you don't know if you're going to be able to finish X, Y, and Z in time, you actually have to do the opposite. You actually have to slow down. Your body is telling you to slow down. The stress that you feel is obligations that you don't have enough time for, obligations that you cannot meet. That's stress that you feel. Intuitively, you know. You know that this is way too much on your plate. I remember in my early 20s, I used to plan like multiple activities in a day, and then I find myself like rushing like to get to each place, and it's because I was so excited about doing multiple things and hanging out with multiple friend groups, and going to the club and like going to brunch and all these things. But I realized that it actually just caused me more stress. And now in my late 20s, I find myself only scheduling one thing per day, like max two. And even that max two is a stretch sometimes because I don't like the feeling of rushing. And I think that, that feeling of rushing, even though this is part of stress as well, because you feel stressed to perform, you feel stressed to meet the obligations that you set with your friends. So I do think though that that stress that you feel when you have a lot to do in one day is because you intuitively know that it's going to be really hard for you to do all those things. You're not a robot. Like, you literally are just a human being, and it's like unrealistic. That's the word I was looking for. It's unrealistic expectations, that you're setting on yourself. So when you are feeling stressed and you have a lot on your plate, or a lot is going on in the world and you're uncertain, you actually should slow down, not gear up. Have you ever made an impulsive decision like because of stress? I have. Like, just recently I bought I'm ashamed to say, I bought 4 jumpsuits from like different websites at the last minute because I was preparing for the Rolling in the Carolinas skate party. I bought those impulsively, and only one of them actually fit, and I'm taking the other 3 back. I impulsively got my hair done as well, and I hated it. So I'm just saying, like, when you make impulsive decisions based on your stress, it doesn't always, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work in your favor to do so. So actually slowing down and being mindful about what's possible and what's not possible is better than trying to do even more. And here too, when you slow down, you have to evaluate things that can be skipped, things that are not priorities. When you slow down, it gives yourself the opportunity to think about what the priorities are. So I was telling you guys before, I was preparing for a new job. So I had interviews, like multiple interviews to prepare for. And at the same time, I was also traveling for work that week, and I was commuting 1.5 hours each way. So that's 3 hours of driving a day. Yeah, so I also, take 2 classes, one's on Tuesday, one's on Thursday. So that week prior to my interview, or the same week of the interview, I think I had the interview on Friday, I didn't go to my class on Tuesday and Thursday. And I decided that, it was more beneficial for me to prepare for my interview on Friday and take the time that I would have been in class to prepare for that interview, because I didn't have any other time to prepare for it. And it works because I got the job. But it's just something that I realized that I had to do. If I would have went to class after commuting 3 hours, went to class, and then it would have been 9 o'clock, and then I'm tired because I've been driving all day, I wouldn't have been able to have a productive prep session for the interview. And then also, if I'm driving all day, I wouldn't be able to focus in a 3-hour class, no way. So I was just, being real with myself, and I had to, have that sort of managerial conversation with myself to see, hey, what do we think is possible here? What makes more sense here? What's the priority here? Because that class, I can just get the notes from someone else, okay? This job though, this is a remote job. This is a remote job. This is what I've been asking for a very long time. And this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity for me to finally leave the job that I've been in since 2017 and take a leap of faith. This is something that's on my, my goals for 2025. So even though this is a temporary stressor, a temporary, thing, it's a priority over everything else practically. So I decided to not go to class for a week. And I want you to think about the things in your life that you have going on like regularly. Would it really hurt for you to miss something? because I used to be the type of person that always wanted to do everything that I signed up for. And I am, and I still am that person, but I realized that I have a lot going on purpose. So I'm not always going to be able to be there for 100% of everything. You know, what do they say? Master of none. Oh, wait, I'm going to find it. Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. That is the lifestyle that I signed up for. Like, I love reading, I love skating. I really want to learn how to build homes and build a tiny house. And, you know, I'm into real estate. Like, I have all these things that I'm interested in that I want to do, and I want to do it all. I want to do it all. But I realize that I'm not going to be able to show up 100% for things sometimes, and that's okay. If I didn't have the temporary stressor of finding a new job, I would be able to show up for the classes that I have more. But it's just, it's not realistic right now. Like, I needed that job, honey. I needed that job. So, yeah, I'm not mad at myself for that. Like, I forgive myself for not being able to show up 100%, especially when it's for something that is beneficial for me. The second thing that I wanted to discuss is choosing joy, choosing, you know, the things that bring you peace, the things that's actually going to help you with the stress. And I'm bringing that up because people berated me, okay? And when I say people, I'm talking about my parents and my sister, my mom, dad, and my sister. They berated me because Thursday night, I decided to go skating. And this was the day before my interview. And throughout the whole time of me being stressed and me feeling overwhelmed, I maintained skating. And the reason why I maintain skating is because skating maintains me. Skating helps me, you know, show up in these places, you know, as my best self. And I know that's weird to say, but skating helps alleviate my stress. So I prioritize skating over showing up for class, over showing up for book club, over everything else, because it's going to help me show up for the job. So even though my interview was at 11 a.m. on Friday and it was like a 5-hour interview, I skated the night before and I didn't get home till midnight. But for me, I knew that's what I needed. Intuitively, I knew that is what I needed in order to show up as my best self for that interview, because it helps me feel confident. Like when I'm on the skate floor and I'm doing my moves and I'm feeling it, I'm feeling the music, I'm feeling the vibes, and I just learned how to do something new, and I like that. Like that helps me feel more confident in the interview, and it did. And it helps alleviate the jitters, you know, from the interview. Like it helps me realize that I do know what I'm doing and I do it well. So I guess what I'm saying is that you should focus on what's most important to you, and you know yourself. So you know what you need to do, and you know what you want to do, and you know what's going to help you, you know what's not going to help you. So during this time period, like I said, I prioritize skating. I prioritize preparing for my job interview because that is what's most important to me, and that's what's going to help me help myself. But I did not post on YouTube once a week like I wanted to. I did not go to the gym twice a week like I wanted to. I did not show up for book club the way that I wanted to. So I had to pick and choose in that moment what was the most important to me. And I felt the stress coming on within my body, within my mind, within my thoughts. So as I feel it bubbling up, you know, as I start to have like restlessness because I can't go to sleep because I'm thinking about all the things that I have to do, or all the thoughts that I have throughout the day, like, oh my God, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. Oh my God, I don't know. Like when those moments start to arise more and more, that's how I know it's time to reevaluate what I have going on. And I don't feel bad for missing out on the gym for a week. I don't feel bad for missing out on, I do feel a little bit bad about YouTube. I'm not gonna lie, I do feel a little bit bad about YouTube because it's something that is on my, you know, 2025 goals, and it is something I told myself that I would do, but I am back now, and you know, I do think it was ultimately worth it for me to sacrifice YouTube in order to prepare for a new job. So I would say that slowing down, choosing the things that bring you joy, and focusing and prioritizing what's most important for you are the big three that you should do when coping with too much stress. In conclusion, you don't have to be perfect or consistent all the time in order to get shit done. The planner in you can plan to miss a few things on the list. Secondly, do what feels right. Everyone was telling me that I shouldn't go skating late at night because my interview was the very next day. But moving my body helped me to manage my stress and release my anxiety about the interview. You know yourself, do what's best for you, and it'll be worth it in the end.